Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over the airwaves of Sirius XM. Mad Dog Sports Radio. The number to call up as always is 888 Mad Dog 6. That's 888-623-3646. Got a jam-packed show coming your way this afternoon at approximately 1:30, 30 minutes past this hour. We will have on the show former NFL player, now NFL analyst for ESPN, Damian Woody. Looking forward to having that conversation about various NFL items with him. We're going to talk about Romo and the Cowboys. I'm open to that. I'm open to the discussion about anything on Big Ben Roethlisberger, because he's essentially telling folks to relax, evidently negating to recognize how inconsistent he's been this year and how that's compromised the success of the Pittsburgh Steelers, along with their defense, along with a 25th ranked rushing attack. Can't put it all on him, but we'll definitely talk about that. There's no question about it. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Cowboys. We'll talk about the Seattle Seahawks. We'll talk about, who's going to go up against whom as the season wanes. We'll talk about the Steelers-Cowboys matchup today and tomorrow, because obviously they're going up against one another on Sunday, and that'll be incredibly interesting. We'll definitely talk about that. But obviously we're still a little bit more than a day and a half removed from the big election, and we're not going to be talking about this too much longer, but it is necessary because there's a couple of big-time coaches that had something to say about the election. One was Stan Van Gundy of the Detroit Pistons. The other was Steve Kerr of the Golden State Warriors. Both of them had what I consider to be incredibly profound statements about this election and the impact that it's expected to have on their players, on their teams, and more importantly, on the United States of America. And I'd be remiss, and I think anybody in sports would be remiss in neglecting and negating to bring up and voice what they had to say. That's why I'm doing it on this particular day. And this is probably the last day that I'm going to do it, because to be quite honest with you, I'm damn near tired of talking about it already. But it is necessary on this day to still address these issues, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Before I elaborate on anything that they've had to say, let's first listen to Stan Van Gundy, former head coach of the Miami Heat, former head coach of the Orlando Magic, now present head coach for the Detroit Pistons. Listen to these words that he articulated when addressing Donald Trump winning the election and being the president-elect of the United States of America. Listen up.
I don't think anybody can deny this guy is openly and brazenly racist and misogynist and ethnocentric, and say that's okay with us, we're going to vote for him anyway. We have just thrown a good part of our population under the bus, and I have problems with thinking that this is where we are as a country, and it's tough on this group right here. We noticed it coming in, and everybody was a little quiet. I thought, well, maybe the game the other night, and so we talked about that, and Aaron Baines said, I don't think that's why everybody's quiet. I think it's last night.
So you heard Stan Van Gundy right there, lamenting the fact that we have the new president-elect that we have. Said racist, misogynistic, ethnocentric. And for those of you out there who don't know the meaning of ethnocentric or ethnocentrism, remember, it's the belief in the inherent superiority of one's own ethnic group or culture. In other words, he's trying to say that Donald Trump believes I'm white, so I'm superior. That's from Stan Van Gundy, not Stephen A. Smith. That's Stan Van Gundy, head coach for the Detroit Pistons of the National Basketball Association. It did not stop there. Steve Kerr, who's proven himself to be a very fine coach and a champion, presiding over the Golden State Warriors, he spoke on this issue as well. Listen up.
Well, I hope he's a good president. I have no idea what kind of president he'll be because he hasn't said anything about what he's going to do. We don't know. But it's tough when you want there to be some respect and dignity, and there hasn't been any. And then you walk into a room with your daughter and your wife, who've basically been insulted by his comments, and they're distraught. And you walk in and you see the faces of your players, most of them who have been insulted directly as minorities. It's sort of shocking. It really is. And so we talked about it as a team this morning, and so I don't know what else to say. It's just just the whole process just has left all of us, I think, feeling just kind of disgusted and disappointed. I thought we were better than this. I thought the Jerry Springer show was a Jerry Springer show, but watching the last debate, Trump would make a crack at Clinton, and you could hear the fans, the stands, ooh. Like, oh, no, he didn't. No. Like, yeah, he did. Yeah, this is a presidential election. It's not the Jerry Springer show. So I'm sorry. This is my rant.
All very fair and profound statements on the part of both Stan Van Gundy and Steve Kerr. It's hard to really put into words because I pride myself as a middle-of-the-road kind of guy. Certainly, as a black man, certain sensibilities and sensitivities I may have, but I pride myself in being open to what other people are feeling. And when Stan Van Gundy and Steve Kerr, two white individuals who are highly respected and should be, both completely different in terms of their personas, who they are. If you know anything about Stan Van Gundy, he comes across as, no nonsense, no BS, just very matter of fact, rugged and raw in his own way. And that's just the way he is. You come across and listen to Steve Kerr, I'm quite sure I'm not one of Steve Kerr's favorite people, but I can tell you something right now. He's one of mine. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think he's proven to be a fantastic coach. I think a lot of people have misconstrued a lot of things about Steve Kerr when it comes to me. I feel like Mark Jackson should have never been fired. But that doesn't mean I blame Steve Kerr for getting the job, and it doesn't mean I don't recognize what a great coach he is. And he has always been an incredibly good man and a very, very nice person. So in that regard, I'm very fond of Steve Kerr. But these statements that both of them made, they're right on the money in terms of what a certain population in America feels. And I think that when you take into account Stan Van Gundy's concerns, Steve Kerr's disappointment and disdain for who we elected, not him as a person per se, because nobody knows Donald Trump. They just know what he said. And what he said is enough when you don't know him. So if all you can go by is what he said, and you watched him spew what he spewed throughout this election, whether it was not decrying an endorsement from the Ku Klux Klan immediately and delaying that response when being interviewed by Jake Tapper of CNN, all the things that he said about immigrants and about immigration, or in some people's eyes, illegal immigration. You've got Mexicans offended by him. Black folks with extreme trepidation about him. Muslims in the United States of America who absolutely positively fear what is going to happen to them in the United States of America because he is now your president. Which is why Stan Van Gundy alluded to ethnocentric. You think about all of those things. And you got to wonder, over the next 4 years, when he's the president of the United States, you got to wonder, will the NBA ban itself from going to the White House? That's an appropriate question on this day, ladies and gentlemen. And here's why. The Cleveland Cavaliers, champions, are going to the White House today. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the same day that Barack Obama and Donald Trump are doing a press conference today in front of the media after meeting with each other and talking for 90 minutes. By the way, they were incredibly both respectful to one another. Any rhetoric, any acerbic rhetoric, any, and cantankerous stuff going on back and forth, all of that's been shoved to the side. They shook hands. They seemed incredibly cordial and polite to one another. Donald Trump acknowledged that he would be seeking Obama's counsel. He talked about what a good man Obama was. Obama talked about how receptive Donald Trump was. For the good of the country, they seem to be coming together. And why shouldn't they? Barack Obama is on his way out of office. Donald Trump is on his way in. The good of the country matters and usurps their personal concerns about one another, which, by the way, they have no reason to any longer. The people have spoken. Barack Obama served his 2 terms. His time is up. As of January 20th, he will no longer be the president of the United States of America. And as of January 20th, 2017, Donald Trump will become the 45th president of the United States of America. Nothing changes that. So why not be as cooperative and transparent as you can possibly be through the whole transition process? Because guess what? The problems that exist ain't going away. And the smoother the transition, the less difficulty there will be in addressing the concerns that we have as a nation. So I applaud that. But I also deeply appreciate the comments of Stan Van Gundy. I deeply appreciate the comments of Steve Kerr. But I'm also sensitive on behalf of voters who voted for Trump. Because quite frankly, I think a legitimate argument can be said that while some of them may fall under the racist, misogynistic, xenophobic label, there are a lot of them that do not. And this is why I said on First Take this morning on ESPN2 with my man Max Kellerman, you got to put on your big boy pants or your big girl pants and understand that while some of us thought about racism, while some of us thought about misogyny, particularly after hearing those tapes with Trump, with Billy Bush, some of us were concerned about xenophobia because we're Muslim. Or we're an immigrant. Wondering what's going to happen to us now that he's president. There are others who have no concerns about any of that. Because they weren't even thinking about it. They didn't hear the rhetoric from Trump, nor did they care. What they cared about was the economy. What they cared about was a job. What they cared about was earning enough money to feed their families and pay their bills. The untold story in all of this is that religiously throughout the history of this country, people vote their own personal conscience and interest. This notion that folks are out there and looking and questioning xenophobia, racism, misogyny, and all of this other stuff, ladies and gentlemen, you missed it. Most people ain't thinking about all of those things. They're only thinking about one issue that concerns them. Let me prove it to you. You could have a thriving economy. We could be the most secure nation on the planet Earth. We could be flowing with money. The streets can be as safe as can be. But if you are pro-choice and someone else who delivered all of those things is staunchly anti-abortion, staunchly pro-life, guess who you're going to vote for? Because you ain't thinking about all that other stuff. You're thinking about your one isolated interest that permeates your life, your conscience. That's America. That's innately and religiously America. And we have to be real and cognizant about that. So it's one thing to sit up there and to say, you know what? I ain't down with this. I don't like Trump. It's another thing entirely to use that as an excuse to denigrate any and all who voted for him. I didn't vote for him. But I got news for you. It didn't have anything to do with that. Before I even got to anything that was remotely racist, misogynistic, or xenophobic, you know what my problem was? Competence. And I don't mean competence in terms of intellect or anything like that. I'm talking about I never really heard him addressing the issues, which is why I appreciate what the Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr had to say. He never told us anything. We're losing our jobs to Mexico. We're losing our jobs to China. We're doing this. We're doing that. Obamacare is a disaster. You know, the Iran deal, the Iranian nuclear deal is a disaster, blah, blah, blah. And it will be better with me. Believe me. Believe me. I'm not saying that he doesn't know. I'm saying that he didn't tell us or nor show us he knew. That's what I had a problem with. I'm not saying he's competent or incompetent. I'm saying I don't know. And if I don't know, I can't vote for you because I knew Hillary was competent and qualified for that specific job. Just like I know he's competent and qualified to be the real estate mogul he is. I didn't have to get to that other stuff. I was harping on qualifications. I want a resume. I want job description. I want to know that you could go across the aisle and deal with the folks on Capitol Hill. It's nice that you got a Republican House and a Republican Senate, but what if you didn't? Could you deal with them? Because you don't get to just look at people and say, you're fired. This ain't The Apprentice, regardless of whether or not you won the election. That's me. That's my belief. But he's our president. And I'm with Barack Obama on this. Our present day president. We all on one team. And we all got to come together. Because if we don't, and we remain divided, and we see these people in the streets protesting, and it stays that way, we got a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing they can do about this election. Donald Trump won the presidency fair and square. He outworked Hillary. He outgunned her. Plain and simple. But the people that are out there protesting in the streets, it's because they're scared. Because of the rhetoric that he spewed, which is why I think he did what he did today in terms of being complimentary about President Obama, in terms of the two getting along and doing what they need to do to make sure for a fluid and healthy transition for the good of the nation. Will the NBA capitulate as well? It remains to be seen. Because what you have going on right now is fear and disdain emanating from various angles. And Donald Trump's going to have to clean that up before he takes office. Not just once he gets there. One would think that the NBA and the NFL and sports leagues could actually help in that regard. I suspect, however, initially they won't. But make no mistake about it, eventually they'll graduate to that point. Because if you think for 1 second in these major professional sports leagues that everybody couldn't stand Trump, you're living in fantasy land. I told y'all a long time ago, there are people who aren't saying anything and never will because their intent all along was to keep their mouths shut, to avoid being labeled themselves, and they were simply going to go to the voting booth, close that curtain, and vote for him anyway. They wouldn't say anything before they walked in. They wouldn't say anything when they walked out. They just knew that the numbers would reflect their support, and it did. And I'm not talking about popular, because I know she won a popular maybe by a few hundred. But they knew where the electoral college votes were. He won fair and square. This country prides itself on smooth transitions. It's not just the American citizen that needs to recognize that. It even applies to citizens like Stan Van Gundy and Steve Kerr, too. No matter how right they are, and they are right, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. Your phone call's up next before my man Damian Woody comes on. It's Stephen A. on Mad Dog.
USA-Mexico, one of the fiercest rivalries in international soccer. Now, hear from the players and coaches who have fueled the fire in the Sirius XMFC special, The Continental Divide.
This is the one game that you do not want to make a mistake.
JP in North Carolina, you're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog Sports Radio. What's up, JP? How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Smith. How are you doing today?
JP, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Doing all right. Go ahead, bro.
Go
ahead, my man. You're live. Go ahead.
I want to admit I'm a United States Marine, and I'm trying to.
All right, hold on. I need you to get yourself to hold on. Whoa. You're talking to a national audience, so I need you to make sure you stand still so we can hear you because your signal's going in and out. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I'm
Are
just
you there?
driving. Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Well, I was trying.
Yes, you're live on the air. Go ahead.
And I'm talking. I'm trying to look at this objectively. And my point is this. I don't know that we could point out a definitive moment where Donald Trump actually sounded racist, aside from his take on illegal immigration and aside from his take on wanting to vet heavily refugees coming into this country from Muslim nations. I can't disagree with him there. As a United States Marine, I've been to places and I've seen what radical Islam is and its effect on people and its effect on the people from an innocent stage in life. They grow up in this. They know nothing better. So I can understand wanting to vet them. The operative word in the immigration stance from Mr. Trump was the fact that it's illegal immigration that he's targeting, not just immigration. I'm a man of mixed descent. And so I tried to look at this from a very objective point of view. Is he talking about Mexicans? Is he talking about a particular group of people that he just doesn't like? I don't think so. I think he's talking about illegal immigration. And as far as the competency of running the country, here's how I look at it as a United States Marine who has been involved in various aspects of classified things. Letting loose and leaking classified documents is no small thing. And to the general public, it may seem like, oh, it was an email here, it was an email there. But the fact is, I don't even want to touch on Benghazi because who really knows what transpired between those wee hours in the morning? Those emails,
JP, was a very big thing. No question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so my thing is this: as far as a competency level, I don't think that Hillary's 30-some years in politics can go unnoticed by anybody in the national public. Just as I don't think Donald Trump's years of handling business dealings with various people overseas and whatnot can go unnoticed either. He's not a career politician, and perhaps that's the reason, because it was some of the things that he said. It was a lot of the things that American people were already thinking. And this will be my last point, Stephen A. And I hope that America can get this. Growing up where I did in West Texas, there was a large number of what we classify as minorities, white, black, mainly Hispanics. But we all seemed to just coexist and get along, and there was no issue. I know it's not that way everywhere in the world, but as a man of faith, and as a man who sticks close to religiosity, Jesus said it the best, I think. He said that a house divided cannot stand. We have got to come together as a country, black, white, Hispanic, Muslim, Christian, whatever, and we've got to stop whatever's happening right now. We have got to reach across, because this isn't about what makes this country great is not the president of the United States. What makes this country great is the citizens of the United States. Thanks for the phone call, Stephen A. Have a great day.
I got you, JP. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. I'll get back to your calls after I talk to my man Damian Woody, NFL analyst for ESPN. He's coming off for a few minutes. He's up next with Stephen A. on Mad Dog.
Mad Dog Sports Radio. Sports Fight.
With Tony Romo back practicing, Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones, a guest on Shine on Sports this morning. Jones said no decision yet on whether Romo would be active for Sunday's game, but he is certainly pleased with Dak Prescott's progress this year.
He continues to check every box, every step of the way. I know he had some big bumps against the Eagles and then was able to add two great touchdown drives to win the football game for us after having some bumps, which he hadn't had many of this year. So it was a big box to check. And I know, he has an insatiable appetite to want to learn, and he's certainly just focused on each week, one day at a time.
Now, Prescott was still taking reps with the first team in practice, and Jones confirming that if Romo was active this week, he would be the backup for Sunday's game against the Steelers. Prescott, of course, has led the team to 7 straight wins. NBA tonight, the Bulls visit the Heat in Dwayne Wade's first visit back to Miami. Wade acknowledging he hasn't spoken with Pat Riley since he left South Beach, and elaborates on the dynamic of their relationship.
I was there 13 years. I've seen a lot of players come and go. I know how he is. So if you're not with him, you're against him. That's just the way he is. So, you got to understand that, man. And, I'm cool with it. I mean, I'm fine, 100%. Like I said, I was there 13 years, so I've seen a lot of video tributes, seen a lot of players come in and go out, and I've seen the way he's responded to them, and I know that if you're not with him, you're against him.
You can hear the game on Sirius XM NBA Radio beginning at 7:30 Eastern, Sirius 207 XM86. And the NBA champion Cavaliers will be visiting the White House this afternoon. Thursday night football this evening, Browns and Ravens in Baltimore, Cleveland 0-9. Looking for their first win. You can hear it on Sirius XM NFL Radio, channel 88 at 8:25 Eastern. And in baseball, R.A. Dickey signs a 1-year deal with the Braves with a club option for 2018. I'm Jacob Wilkins.
Listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show.
32 minutes past hour. Number 1 back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. Let me ask you something. Does paying for channels you don't watch make you want to scream a 4-letter word? Stop. Just stop. It's time for a skinny blonde, a skinny bundle that gives you what you actually watch and not what you don't. Introducing the new Flex Pack from Dish. You start with over 50 popular channels. Want more? Then add channel packs like Locals, Variety, Kids, and News. Don't watch, don't pay. Call 1-844-CALL-DISH today or visit dish.com to come up. The next Flex Pack from Dish. It's over 50 popular channels for just $39.99 a month with your first channel pack included. Add more channel packs like Locals, Variety, Kids, News, and more for $10 a month each. Get the skinny. Call 1-844-CALL-DISH or visit dish.com to sign up. Requires credit qualification, 2-year commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. 1 TV included. Taxes and surcharges extra. Other restrictions apply. Stephen A. right here with Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio. My man Damian Woody, I'm told he's on the line with us right now. What's up, big boy? How you doing?
I'm good, baby. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good job today on First Take. You a little bit out there. I got to check you a little bit. Who knows with you, but it's all right. It's all right. Let me ask you this question, man. I know we got a lot of things to talk about, but while we're on the subject, talk to me about what was going on in your mind, because so many people got the election on their mind. Once the election was done, what's been on your mind about it? Express yourself.
Listen, man, I've had a lot of people reach out to me just talking about this topic, and my feeling is, man, we need to move on. We need to move on because protesting and complaining or any of that stuff, it's not going to change anything. Whether you voted, Republican, Democrat, the results are the results. The people have spoken. It's time to move forward as a country, man. And I've always felt that it's always been up to individuals in this country that make this country as a whole better. So if you're a Trump lover or not, it's still up to you individually, working within your community and building this thing organically to really make this country what it needs to be or what it should be. So the results are results in my mind. Now it's time for us to move on, stop complaining, stop all that. It's time to just move on and let's get this thing going.
Damian Woody right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio. I appreciate those comments. I couldn't agree with you more, actually. Let's get right to it, my man. there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the sport of football today. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. We've heard so much about Tony Romo. I just spoke this morning about how it just absolutely disgusts me that Jerry Jones keeps finding a way to mention Tony Romo's name, with Dak Prescott balling the way that he is. Where's your mind on all of that? What are your thoughts behind all of that?
Well, listen. I think this is a situation where it could be a Wally Pipp situation, and for those people who don't know that terminology, Wally Pipp was a baseball player for the New York Yankees, and he called in one day, said he was sick. Next man who stepped up was Lou Gehrig, and we all know Lou Gehrig had the record before Cal Ripken Jr. broke it. So I think this is a situation, man, with Dak Prescott. He's balling. He's managing the team the right way. The Dallas Cowboys are 7-1. So there's absolutely no reason for the Dallas Cowboys to make any type of move. Now, with all the noise that you hear about Tony Romo, it actually could be something good for Dak Prescott, and here's why. Because now he can focus solely on what's really important, and that's game planning and getting ready for his next opponent. Not worrying about all the outside noise, not worrying about Tony Romo. Let everyone else talk about Tony Romo. That's okay, because if everyone else is talking about Tony Romo, then they're not coming at you, potentially distracting you from what's really important, and that's winning football games.
Damian Woody right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. What are your thoughts about the Dallas Cowboys being the best team in the NFC? Are you there? Are they the best in the NFC to you?
Listen, man, you are what your record says you are. And I know it's a stretch and it's hard for people to understand that, considering the mediocrity that we've seen from the Dallas Cowboys over here. But there's no denying this Cowboys team is playing some of the best ball that we've seen from them in a very long time. They're balanced. The quarterback is playing extremely well. The offensive line is one of, if not the best in the National Football League. They got an exciting runner in Ezekiel Elliott. They got proven veterans on the outside. The defense is playing better than a lot of people expected. So when you look at the Dallas Cowboys and you survey around the NFC, really there's only one team that I can really think of in my mind that could compare to the Dallas Cowboys, and that's the Seattle Seahawks. But right now, you got to get the Dallas Cowboys props. They are playing really good football. Really good football.
What about Atlanta Falcons? How come you didn't mention them?
Listen, you know what? The Atlanta Falcons are playing well. Matt Ryan is, maybe the front runner for the MVP race. I tend to think that Tom Brady is the front runner of the MVP race. But the Atlanta Falcons are playing well. There's no question about it. We all know offensively they got one of the most explosive offenses in the National Football League, Julio Jones. And, obviously Matt Ryan, the offensive line, playing well. The defense is doing okay. But I still think right now the Dallas Cowboys are the cream of the crop in the NFC, period.
Damian Woody right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. So when you think about the Dallas Cowboys, are you thinking Super Bowl berth, them against the New England Patriots? Have you gotten to that point yet?
Listen, I'm not there yet. We're just at the halfway point. There's too much time. A lot of things could happen. I'm not there yet. But with Dallas or with both? I would say with Dallas. I'm not there with Dallas yet. They're playing extremely well right now, but I'm not going to sit here and crown Dallas and say that they're going to be in the Super Bowl down in Houston. I'm not there yet. New England is a different story because we've seen New England do it year in and year out. Okay, Dallas is something different, but I am encouraged by the things that I'm seeing, the way they're playing at the quarterback position, and all the other guys on that team, the way they're playing both offensively and defensively. If they continue on this path, I could absolutely see them playing in Houston.
Damian, let's go back to Seattle for a second, because I didn't like what I saw from Seattle on Monday night. I mean, I just think that, it was nice to see their offense come alive for a change, because that hadn't been the case in recent memory. But I would also tell you, looking at them, I just think that something's missing. Their mystique isn't what it used to be. Is it simply because Cam Chancellor's out, he's been injured, or is there something else that I'm missing about the Seattle Seahawks?
Well, listen, I don't think they're playing at the level that we've, been accustomed to seeing them play. Obviously, they didn't have they haven't had Cam Chancellor. Michael Bennett, who's a big part of their rush, he didn't play, against the Buffalo Bills. But, this is a team, especially offensively, they're not balanced. This is a team that they don't have a running game. Everything is on Russell Wilson. And listen, Russell Wilson is getting paid a lot of money, and he's supposed to come through big time for them. But when you have a quarterback that's still a little hobbled, that doesn't have a running game, defensively, they're not the defense that we've accustomed to see playing through the years. They're still good, but they're not that great defense that we've seen from them. So right now, I think they've fallen back a little bit as a team. And I think, like I said, the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion, are the best team in the NFC.
Damian Woody right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. I brought up the New England Patriots, and obviously we know what they do on the football field, but one of the things I felt obligated to ask you about was all of these comments about Brady and Belichick in the aftermath of the election, going back to that, because you're a Super Bowl champion. You played with both of these. You played with Brady. You played for Belichick. Talk to me about your thoughts about, what they had to say. Obviously, both supported Trump. They did not hide that. The media was asking them. I actually came to their defense. I'm like, they shouldn't have to defend who they voted for. It's perfectly within their right to do so. But based on how divided our country is right now, how do you feel the New England Patriots locker room is, considering how open they were in supporting who they supported?
Listen, I think, are there guys in the locker room who maybe are disappointed? Absolutely. This has been a hot topic issue for, a year and a half now. So, yes, I'm sure guys have had discussions within the locker room about this situation. But knowing the culture up there and just knowing Coach Belichick and Tom Brady, that's not going to get it. None of that is going to get in the way of ultimately what the goal is, and that's to win a Super Bowl. The whole voting thing, that's just, that's a distraction. If there's one team that's equipped to deal with distractions, it's New England. But I don't even consider that a distraction. This team is squarely focused on one thing, and that's going week in and week out and just trying to destroy their opponent. Remember, Tom Brady is on a mission each and every game from that suspension, that Deflategate suspension. He's looking to embarrass you each and every week. And right now, this New England Patriots team, in my opinion, best team in the league. Best team in the league. And I think they've improved from last year in a lot of different areas. So I don't think this voting thing is going to be a distraction for them. They're going to keep motoring along and doing what they're doing, winning football games.
Give me some insight to Tom Brady and his mentality. You talked about how he's on a mission. He wants to embarrass folks because of the suspension, et cetera, et cetera. Does he really, really think like that? Does he have that kind of attitude? Is that something that he verbalizes, or is there another reason that you know such a thing about him?
No, he doesn't have to verbalize it. That's not his MO per se. The way it comes out in his actions, the way he shows up every day, the way he works. People watch him all the time, so he carries himself a certain way. The work that he puts in and week out, that tells you everything you need to know. And then, obviously, on game day, just the emotion, the enthusiasm that you see from him, the guy clearly has a chip on his shoulder. He's had a chip on his shoulder his whole career. So you think that by being suspended a quarter of the season, he's not going to be pissed off? Absolutely he's going to be pissed off. He's going to be pissed off every week. And he's going to go out there and take it out on his opponent. Because in New England, it's about the Patriots against the NFL, and that's what you're seeing unfolding right now.
I used to think it was the Pittsburgh Steelers that would derail the New England Patriots, or had the best chance, rather, to derail the New England Patriots. I don't believe that anymore. I'm thinking Oakland or Kansas City ahead of Pittsburgh. When you think about the other teams in the AFC, who's the number one threat to the New England Patriots right now?
Ooh, that's a good question, Steven. I would say I'm going to go Kansas City. And the reason I go Kansas City is because they don't do a lot of things great. They don't have like one great quality, but they do a lot of things well. And the one thing that you have to do when you play New England, you can't beat yourself, because New England's not going to give you anything. They're not going to make the dumb mistake, the dumb turnover that could possibly hurt them. You have to be able to go in there and play clean. And that's really the one thing that the Kansas City Chiefs, they do well. They play pretty clean. They're not, they're not a team that people really like watching because they're not explosive and do all the fancy things that some other teams might do, but they play a pretty clean game, and that's what you have to do against the Patriots.
Damien, appreciate you, bro. I'll catch up with you later, all right?
All right, man. Be easy.
Thanks a lot, my man. No doubt. The one and only Damien Woody, NFL analyst for ESPN, right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio, 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. This 888-623-3646. Back to your phone calls in a minute with Stephen A. right here on Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Mad Dog Unleashed with Christopher Russo.
Here's MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred. Let's do the pace of
49 minutes. Past hour number one, back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Promised I'd get back to the phone, and that's exactly what I'm going to do at 888 Mad Dog 6. That's 888-623-3646. In hour number two, I'm going to address Richard Sherman and that bogus apology he received. I'm also going to address Mr. Nick Saban. I got a problem with that man today, and I'll tell y'all why in just a little while. Let's go back to the phone to 888 Mad Dog 6. That's 888-623-3646. Let's go to Marvin in Mississippi. You're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. Marvin, good afternoon.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
What's up?
Mr. Smith.
I'm listening, bro.
The comments you made about Kaepernick this morning,
I
think you were kind of off base with it. Calling him a hypocrite, selfish.
Yep.
Then you even attacked his contract. And you did this based on the 15th Amendment, and he chose not to vote. That's his option. That's his right.
Did I say it wasn't his right?
No, you never said it wasn't his right. But the comments.
Well, then why are you bringing up that whether or not it's his right when I didn't question whether or not it was his right?
Okay, under what premises did you call him a hypocrite?
Because what he was proclaiming to be all about, I believe that compromised it by not voting.
What he was proclaiming to be about. I mean, he was standing up for I guess for the Black Lives Matter.
Yep, which I supported him, by the way. And he talked about wanting to provoke change and what have you. But then you're out there, and the one component, the one commodity that we have as American citizens, which is the power to make a change by voting, he not only didn't do that, but he told the world that he didn't do that, knowing that there's a bunch of people that are going to follow his example, which means that essentially you were encouraging them not to vote too. I disagree with that premise.
Okay, but look at his options he had. Look at his options.
So what?
If he didn't believe in any of his options, then why would...
Let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question? Have you voted before?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 45.
All right, that means you voted many, many times, right?
Yes.
So never, ever, ever in any election did you find yourself in a situation where you were voting even though you know you didn't like either candidate? Never happened to you.
Yes, it has.
Okay, so if it happened to you where you didn't like either candidate, but you voted, why did you vote?
I voted for the lesser of the evils.
Time out. You voted for the lesser of the evils? But that's you considered correct. Both of them evil, right?
Yes.
But you took the lesser, right? But why did you choose to do that? Why did you choose to vote for the lesser evil?
Listen, just because I did that doesn't make it right. That was my choice.
No. Hold on. Whoa. Don't change the conversation. Okay. I said to you, it's your right. Don't bring up rights to me. Nobody's saying it wasn't his right. What I'm asking you is, you picked the lesser of the two evils, meaning you didn't like either candidate, but you felt compelled to vote anyway. I want to know from you personally, why did you choose to vote?
To give a guy a chance.
Hold it, to give who a chance?
To give the guy a chance. Barack Obama.
All right, so in your 45 years on this earth, so I'm saying maybe 25, 27 years you've been voting, somewhere around that time. Under no circumstances, at any time, did you believe that you were compelled to vote because of those who came before you, who fought and bled and died for you to have that right, and that this is the best way to create change? Under no circumstances did that mindset ever enter your head.
No, not at all.
Goodbye.
Not at all.
Goodbye. Have a nice day. Let's go to Jeff in Brooklyn. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, how's it going, Stephen A?
I'm all right.
This is Jeff from Brooklyn.
Yep.
And from that last call, yeah, I totally agree with you. You know,
I have no time. He's first of all, he's lying. Don't tell me in 25 to 27 years, if you're willing to admit that there were elections where you did not like either candidate, don't tell me that you didn't feel compelled to vote because you knew that the inalienable right that you were granted by those who bled and fought and died for you to have that right, you didn't feel compelled to vote. Don't tell me that had nothing to do with you voting. That's a lie. That's a lie. I ain't listening to him. Go ahead, Jeff.
Me personally, as a black man, I voted because I know all those people before me, they died for a reason, and white Americans in that era, they didn't want us to vote. So I chose to vote because it was the right thing to do.
Go ahead, bro.
Getting off that subject, I just have 3 quick points I wanted to make, and I just wanted to shout out my boy Jake. You know, he's listening to you right now. I just wanted to let that be known. But my 3 points is 1 is based off of politics, 2 is off of sports. The first one is, can you elaborate more specifically or just give me a better understanding of why? All right. President Barack Obama stated at the convention for the NAACP convention that 5% of the world's population is here based off of 5% of the world's population is the United States, and 25% of the world's population are prisoners. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Is that by accident or is that design?
Well, first of all, I don't know if that's factually incorrect, but it might be. Secondly, I will say this: the prison populace definitely is having some kind of an impact, and I'll tell you why. When Trump, it was first announced that Trump was the new president-elect of the United States, you know, the stock market plunged, okay? I think like 500-600 points. The next day, it was up big time. And from what I'm being told, it's because of the prison system and its association with the private industry. It's big business.
Okay, now, is that by design or is that by accident? Because I watched a documentary on Netflix called 13. Yeah. You should probably check it out because
I am going to check it out. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard a lot about it. I'm going to try to watch it this weekend.
Very informative. My second point is based off of sports. Now, I understand. I totally agree with you about Kevin Durant.
All right, you only got 40 seconds, bro, so go ahead.
All right, I'm going to just make it quick. I think you should definitely not let him off the hook because all that energy he expended the night he went against the Thunder, where was that guy games 5, 6, and 7? Don't let him off the hook, Stephen A. And my last point, please, me and my friends, we don't want to judge the Knicks too much off of the first 6 games. We said we were going to judge them after the first 20 games. But don't let Melo off the hook by saying he needs to be traded because that's deep on his leadership character.
Nah. I ain't worried about him as no leader no more. The Knicks stink. They ain't going nowhere. He need to go someplace else so he can have a better shot at the championship. I'm totally disgusted with the situation in New York. I'm not going to even lie to you. But I got to go, my man, Jeff. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. 888-MAD-DOG-6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. Hour number 2 up next. Richard Sherman, Colin Kaepernick, Nick Saban. College football playoffs. All of that.
Jason Taylor brings hard-hitting opinions to the opening drive.
The Raiders are finally learning how to win. They've got that taste in their mouth, and they understand in the fourth quarter when things start getting a little tight, they're starting to make plays and expecting to.
Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show here with you until the top of the 3 o'clock hour. Eastern Standard Time when I pass it off to the namesake for the channel, Christopher Mad Dog Rooster, right here with Stephen A. Smith, right here on Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82. Guys, do you have trouble finding dress shirts that fit? Well, ordering a custom shirt has never been easier thanks to Proper Cloth. At ProperCloth.com, you can easily create a custom shirt size in seconds by just answering 10 easy questions. No measuring required. Proper Cloth has over 500 styles to choose from. Everything from classic business styles to casual shirts. And Proper Cloth custom shirts start from just $85. These are really high-quality shirts, of course, made from premium Italian and Japanese fabrics. Now, this is important. Proper Cloth guarantees a perfect fit. Remakes are absolutely free, and the team there makes it super easy to to do. With literally hundreds of 5-star reviews, Proper Cloth is the highest rated custom shirt maker on Google. Even GQ calls them their favorite online custom shirt maker. This is the future of shirts. The website is so easy to use. Your custom sizes and preferences are all saved on your profile. You can even order now on your phone. So stop wearing shirts that don't fit. Start looking your best. Go to propercloth.com today and enter gift code radio to save $20 on your first shirt. Please do it today. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. Couple of items I wanted to get into. Number one was Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman was fined $9,115 for his hit on Buffalo Bills kicker Dan Carpenter. ESPN has confirmed. Pro Football Talk first reported the fine. The play occurred at the end of the first half of Monday night. Sherman was flagged for jumping offside on the play, but officials didn't immediately blow the whistle. Sherman said he was trying to block the kick. He got his hand on the football, but also took Carpenter out on the play. NFL Senior Vice President of Officiating, Dean Blandino, said Sherman should have been penalized for unnecessary roughness, but the officials did not flag him during the game. Sherman maintained that he was simply playing to the whistle, and replays show the whistle was not blown until after the collision took place. This is a quote from Sherman. There was no whistle. So the league goes back and hindsights everything and says this and says that because they want to appease the fans. But I know the rule book, and I know exactly what I was doing on the play. It's very similar to a free play for all the uniformed people out there. If you watch Aaron Rodgers or any team, they drew a team offside. And if a guy comes scot-free at the quarterback and he's about to get hit in the face, the refs will usually blow it dead then so the quarterback doesn't get hit. But if a guy's not coming scot-free, they'll let the play go on. And a lot of teams score touchdowns like that. They were doing the same thing. If the kick would have gone through, they would have said good kick, declined the penalty, field goal good. They've got 3 points, but they didn't blow the ball dead until he kicked it. So that is what it is. You got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, the play led Carpenter's wife, Kayla, to suggest on Twitter that Sherman should be castrated. She later apologized. She sent some weak, timid apology that, me personally, I never bought. Richard Sherman called it BS as well as he should have. And that is where we are right now. For me personally, her apology, which I do not have right in front of me at this particular moment, was not an apology at all. I don't care what anybody says. Now, I'm not going to make a federal case out of it by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that it's worth mentioning that's not appreciated. I do think it's worth mentioning that there's something that's pretty low about what she said. And it's worth noting. I don't give a damn what anybody says. There's no way around this. She basically talked about it was a poor attempt at humor. She compared him to an animal and talked about him being castrated. And here's my thing, ladies and gentlemen. What if Richard Sherman had said something like that about her? He might be suspended indefinitely. You don't know what would have happened to him had he said something like that to her. But she could just go on and say something like that about him, right? Don't get me started, y'all. Don't get me started. The previous caller from a few callers ago brought up what I said about Kaepernick yesterday. Colin Kaepernick is a guy that started a national uproar with his refusal to stand for the national anthem. Military men and women had a problem with him. Even though he swore up and down that it was about racial injustices in our country and he wanted them to be addressed. So he makes all of this noise, contributes to dividing our country to some degree because it highlighted our divide, if nothing else. And then not only does he refuse to vote, but he announces to the world he's not voting. Knowing that there are people out there watching and people are who are interested in emulating him. And being completely oblivious, negligent or ignorant, whatever you want to say, to those who have fought, bled, and died for his right to do exactly what he should have done, which is vote. Because when you talk about making change in this country, that's the way you do it. Yes, you have connections. Yes, you come together as a coalition, as a community. Yes, you provoke change by affecting people's wallets and protesting and all of that other stuff. But the number one way to affect change is to vote. Everyone knows that. But Colin Kaepernick wants to say otherwise. I called them hypocritical. I called them selfish. And I called for the national media, keep the cameras away from them. Let them kneel in private. We won't miss them. I mean, you got to be kidding me. That's what Doc Rivers was saying. That's what Doc Rivers' problem was. Because after all of that noise, there were folks who went out there and never voted. But you want to protest and complain about change. And I'm not talking about folks who voted. I'm talking about those who didn't. In an election as divisive as this, where clearly there were two sides, no one has the right to tell you who you should vote for. But I'll be damned if we don't have the right to tell you should vote. You do have the right not to. You also have the right to be called ignorant and selfish and hypocritical because you don't vote. After all that song and dance, who the hell wants to hear from Colin Kaepernick now? Not voting, not taking a choice? And then he goes on to explain why he didn't vote. Who gives a damn about his explanation? I didn't have a candidate. Both of them were evil. Blah, blah. One's a liar. One's a racist. Blah, 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 blah. I just stop. So in other words, if it ain't ideal, if you don't get exactly what you want, then you don't want to participate. But you want to kneel and bring attention to injustices taking place in our country, thereby provoking people to do something about it. But the number one way you could have done something about it, you refuse to do. Just ignorant. Just ignorant. Got no patience for it. None. I don't give a damn what anybody says. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. I'll get to Nick Saban in just a minute, because damn it, he ain't off the hook either. Jake in New Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Yo, Stephen A., how you doing?
I'm good. Talk to me.
Yeah, man, I don't know why no one's mentioned it. Maybe I missed it. You know, we also have all of the smaller votes that are taking place on Election Day, the local votes.
Absolutely.
For your local congressmen, for your justices, for your sheriffs. That's where real change can be affected.
By the way, Jake, how about this one? Something that just flies by people. If you were in the voting booth this past Tuesday, right? Like I was.
Yep.
It specifically said at the top, are you a supporter? I'm paraphrasing here because the exact verbiage I don't have, so please forgive me, Jake. But it said above, before you picked a Democrat, Republican, independent candidate, whatever the case may be, it said above, are you a proponent, essentially, of the age limit of 75 years being accorded to Supreme Court justices?
Yep.
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
That's a big deal. It's a very, very big deal.
And I think for him that, you know, a lot of us took a wait and see approach with Kaepernick and, you know, what he's been doing, you know, bringing attention to Black Lives Matter. I think, you know, instead of jumping to conclusions, the wait and see approach was the way to handle it. Unfortunately, we now see, after we've waited, what Kaepernick's all about. And for him to basically brag about the fact there wasn't someone in the race for himself, it just shows the shallowness, in my opinion, personally.
You're right. You're right. It's not just your opinion. It's the opinions of millions of people with sense. It was shallow because you're thinking about just you. How the hell are you going to go out there after being so touched, per se, by people who were willing to follow his lead with the national anthem protest and then turn around and announce to the world that you didn't vote? It's inexcusable.
It's sad.
It's inexcusable.
It's sad, and I got one quick question, if you don't mind. I've been listening to everything since the election. I really appreciate you coming out, telling us who you voted for, giving us the reasons, you know, why. But personally for me, it would mean a lot more to me what you've been saying about why you didn't vote if you could tell me if you've ever voted for a Republican president.
I have voted for a Republican president. Not a Republican president, I apologize. I voted for a Republican governor, Chris Christie, in New Jersey.
Okay.
I'm an independent. I have voted Democrat most of the time, but as I've evolved and gotten older, I don't associate myself with any political party. I trust neither. I think about what's in the best interest of the country, what's in the best interest of myself, my family, and loved ones, and I make decisions based on a compilation of those things. I don't give a damn what side it is, and it's all in accordance with the times. You see what I'm saying?
Agreed.
What we needed 8 years ago, we may not need now. What we need now, we may not need for 8 years from now. You see what I'm saying, Jake?
Absolutely.
And I pay attention to what's going on, and that's how I roll.
Thank you for answering that, Stephen. I appreciate it.
No problem, buddy. Take care. 888 Mad Dog 6 is 888-623-3646. Let's go to Sam in Maryland. You're live with Stephen A. Mad Dog. What's up, Sammy?
What's up, brother?
How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for calling. What's up?
I don't want to waste your time with all this politics, but I know you're exhausted, so I'm going to go to sports.
Yep.
Okay. About a month ago, I talked to you on the same radio station, and I was asking you about the situation with Dak Prescott. And I said to you, what if this man goes 6-1, 7-1, maybe 8-1, and then Tony Romo is healthy, and then he ends up having to, Jerry Jones meaning, making a decision to have Tony Romo come back into the game. And you specifically said to me, well, it doesn't matter what I think. The reality of everything is that there are accidents waiting to happen. Now that this has happened, how do you feel? Do you feel the same way about that you did a month ago?
Yeah, I think Jerry Jones going to mess it up.
I know he is.
I think he's going to mess it up, and he's going to find a way to force feed Tony Romo back into that lineup. He's going to mess it up.
I know he is.
When I say accident waiting to happen, that's what I'm talking about. See, talent-wise, the Dallas Cowboys could beat anybody. When you got that massive offensive line with that stud at running back and a rookie Ezekiel Elliott and a stud at quarterback who's so poised, with Des Bryant helping to get other receivers open like Cole Beasley and Jason Witten. Not that Jason Witten needs anybody's help because he's just a Hall of Famer. But what I'm saying is that when you got all of that going on and your defense doing just enough to be respectable, guess what? You can pull it off.
Absolutely.
But Jerry Jones is going to get in the way.
Absolutely.
He's going to get in the way.
One more question. I know that I ain't got a lot of time, so I'm going to ask you one more question. The game this weekend, Pittsburgh and Dallas. Now, you talked about Ben Roethlisberger on your show today. I want to know who you think is going to win, and I want to know why.
What, this Sunday?
Yes, sir.
Dallas is the better team right now, but I refuse to pick them ahead of my Steelers. I'm being completely emotional. The Dallas Cowboys should win because their running game should be stopped, but more importantly, the Steelers secondary is suspect. But I believe in a game like this, I'm hopeful. I shouldn't say I believe. I'm hopeful that the Pittsburgh Steelers will step up and handle their business. Because if my Steelers lose to the Cowboys, I'll be sick all next week because I'll be having to deal with Cowboy fans who knows I'm a Steelers fan. And that would make my life hell.
My man, thank you very much.
Take it easy, bro. Thank you so much. Let's go to Tim in Atlanta. You're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing, big man?
I'm doing all right. What's up?
I want to go back to your opening and just kind of understand your thought process here. So, in the opening, you played the Van Gundy and the Kerr comments.
Yes, sir.
And what I'm trying to understand is why you felt compelled to play that, or media in general felt compelled to play that, in the sense that, for me, my vote's just as important as Steve Kerr's vote, same weight. So I'm really more disappointed in Van Gundy and Kerr because they took that platform to put out their personal opinion on it. But really, when our votes are the same, weighted the same, why replay that? If they're talking about the game coming up, if they're talking about strategies, player personnel, I get that. But why is that so important to play out?
Well, first of all, this is called the Stephen A. Smith Show. Correct. And it was important to me to play it. So let me be clear about that. Secondly, one's a head coach, both are head coaches in the NBA, the league I cover. Thirdly, they have their personal opinions who were in favor of Hillary, obviously. Just like Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, their sound was played the day before. They were in favor of Trump. Fourth, the election is the biggest freaking story going on since Tuesday and arguably has dominated the news and the airwaves and all of that other stuff since for the last month or two. So the combination of all of it, it's compelling, it's interesting, it provokes and evokes emotion, it gives us insight to different thoughts, just like you have yours. And you called into the radio show. And I'm sitting here and I'll let you speak now to express yourself.
No, I hear you. I was just trying to understand. I can see that it's compelling and it does invoke different
That's all that matters, bro. That's all that matters, Tim.
All right.
I mean, do you want to be bored? Would you like me to come on the air and talk about shark fishing?
No, I hear you.
Come on now.
All
right, buddy. I appreciate the call. Thank you. Let's go to Garland in St. Louis. You're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. What's up, Garland?
What's going on, Stephen A., man? You know, I done called in a couple of times with opinions, man. I love listening to your show, man. But,
appreciate you, bro.
I got 2 points, man. Just 2 points.
Sure.
First one is about the Richard Sherman, situation. I don't understand why, and I get people can apologize because they get made, made to apologize, but that she's not going to apologize because she said exactly what it is that she wanted to say, and I'm really in belief of racist comments are always typically supposed to be some type of a joke. That's why they say that's typically why they make them, amongst themselves or whatever, man. So I just don't. I don't care if she ever apologizes. It doesn't matter. Really doesn't. And somebody don't make her apologize.
Well, it's not a matter. Hold on. It's not a matter of making her do anything. It's just stating your belief about it. Like, I ain't losing no sleep whether she apologizes or not.
Nah.
But it ain't nothing wrong with me saying she should apologize.
Well, and I get that, but I just know that it's not going to be real.
Well, it wasn't real. She tried it yesterday, and it clearly wasn't real.
Right. So that's the reason why I say that. My second point is about this election, and I was really upset myself. And I understand we have to move on and all of that, man. But I mean, it's a lot that we have to kind of watch out for, especially where we are right now as a country. And this here just kind of scares the daylights out of me. And I think the bottom line to this whole thing is because you pointed out the many qualifications that Hillary has, and the lack of qualifications that Trump has. It just speaks to the fact that I don't believe folks, men, and I hate to say, the other part of this, but it's men out there that just won't allow and don't want a woman in office, and that's ridiculous.
Well, that's another, sexism. Let's call it what it is. Now, you do have. We can talk a lot of things about Donald Trump. You can talk a lot. There are a lot of people that did not want Hillary Rodham Clinton to be in that position because they didn't want a woman in the White House.
Exactly.
Make no mistake about it. That's definitely part of it.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people didn't go. What was it? 56% of the white male population went out and voted.
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
Yeah,
and I mean,
about 10 to 15 million people from the minority communities, it appears, didn't go out there and vote. I gotta go, man. I appreciate the call, but by the way, let me read this quote unquote apology from getting back to Kayla Carpenter. What she said about Richard Sherman. My attempt at humor during a heated and highly controversial NFL game has not been received the way I intended. When I saw the out of control nature of the events that happened on the field, I jokingly wanted to relate it to the life on the farm where I grew up and how it would have been handled there. Unfortunately, I did not realize that a tone of racism would dominate the response to what I intended to be a lighthearted defense of my husband. Regardless of the narrative that has been attached to my post, it was never intended to be related to race or the disgusting hatred that creates the basis for racism. So let me get this straight. I did not realize that the tone of racism would dominate the response to what I intended to be a lighthearted defense of my husband. So a lighthearted defense of your husband is putting a device or a machine on Twitter or whatever it is that castrates people and talking to Richard Sherman saying this is what we do on the farm when people act like that. That's lighthearted. Okay. I got it. 888 Mad Dog 6, that's 888-623-3646. What a joke. Back with more of the Stephen A. Smith Show on Mad Dog Sports Radio in a minute.
It's beginning to look a lot.
Payroll companies beside you, of course. Paychex helps you tackle the issues that keep you up at night. Ask them to straighten out your messed up HR systems, assist with regulatory compliance, and help you find and manage the right 401k plan for your employees and your business. If you have a question at 2 a.m, Paychex picks up the phone, and the technology behind its mobile, cloud-based human capital management solution helps your people do less busy work and be more productive. Putting people first has made Paychex one of Fortune magazine's most admired companies. You're going to want these people working on your payroll and your HR and your insurance and your retirement plan. Look, your business is your business, but for the other stuff you're dealing with, there's always Paychex. So check them out at trypaychex.com. That's TRYPAYCHEX.com. Let me not be a hypocrite myself, because I'm sitting here and I'm watching or I'm reading an article. I was watching Mike and Mike earlier this morning, watching various other shows, and apparently, while over 120 million people went to the polls, or approximately 120 million people went to the polls to vote for the next president of the United States, Nick Saban said he wasn't even aware that millions of Americans went to the polls on Tuesday to vote for the next president of the United States. Listen to Nick Saban talking to the media about this. Take it away, Nuno.
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't even know yesterday was Election Day. So it was so important to me that I didn't even know it was happening. We're focused on other things here. I don't really make political comments. So if I say I like one person, that means that everybody that voted for the other person doesn't like me. So why would I do that? I want what's best for our country. I'm not sure I can figure that out. I want what's best for, people who want to improve the quality of their life. And I hope whoever our leader is will certainly do all that he can do to make our country safe and improve the quality of life of a lot of the people, that we have in our country. And I don't think I'm qualified to determine, who that should be.
Here's my problem. Roy Williams gave the basketball coach at the University of North Carolina, runner-up in the national championship game last April, gave his team the day off from practice so they could go and vote. NBA, NFL players obviously made it a priority to do the same thing. Nick Saban did not kneel during the national anthem. I don't attach the same onus on his shoulders that I do on Colin Kaepernick's, for obvious reasons. So it's one thing if Nick Saban decides to be oblivious to the political landscape permeating through America. But when you sit up there and you add the line in there, we're focused on other things here. That statement is piercing. That statement is damning. Because God forbid, what if one of your players wanted to go vote? You going to stop them because we're focused on other things here? There's a lot of players that play for Nick Saban, black and white. They ain't making $7+ million a year. They're not an institution in and of themselves. They're not 4 or 5-time national champions from 2 different schools. Their life ain't set. It's not easy for them. And there's just something about that statement that really stings. Because I'm looking at Cassidy over on Mike and Mike this morning. And she made a very profound point when she's a leader of men. Nick Saban always has something to say. Always. And it ain't always about what goes on a football field. And it's not always about what goes on with the NCAA. Sometimes it's about life. Ain't this about life? Ain't this about America? And I got to tell you, I don't believe him. I just think that he just wants to keep his political opinions to himself, which, by the way, is his right. He has no obligation. You know what, Nick Saban, here's what I would have loved if he had said. Yeah, I voted. And somebody asked him who? None of your damn business. That's it. But to make the statement, we're focused on other things here, that's just not good. Particularly in this specific political climate. It's just not good. It's just not good. However, the great Paul Feinbaum, voice of the SEC, host of the Paul Feinbaum radio show, said he doesn't believe Nick Saban. Listen to this.
To be honest with you, I don't believe he was being honest with us. Nick Saban's a very smart man, but he has always avoided politics. I've talked to him about this a number of times. I've tried to suggest to him, hey, maybe you ought to run for public office. But think about this. His best friend growing up in West Virginia was a man named Joe Manchin, former governor. He is now a U.S. senator. He's also a Democrat. And in 2010, Saban and his wife gave money to his campaign, so he's a little bit of aware. 2006, Kerry, when Saban was at the Miami Dolphins, the president of the United States, George W. Bush, invited him to dinner. He turned him down. It was preseason training camp, and Saban said he was too busy. I asked him about it last year. He said, I have an obligation to my players. So he's very aware. He's been to the White House a number of times, but I personally think he's a Democrat. Alabama is a red state. I don't think he wants to cross that line, so he stays away from that subject at all cost.
Very interesting tidbit there. And guess what? That's his right. I got no problems with Saban on that front. Paul Feinbaum, I think he's a Democrat. And in Alabama, in the South, that might be a problem. Okay. I don't blame Nick Saban for one bit. But to make the statement, we're focused on other things here, I can't sit here and get on Colin Kaepernick, even though it's two different things. Because Nick Saban ain't kneeling during the national anthem. It's two different things. But I can't sit up here and get on Colin Kaepernick and never make a mention about Nick Saban. I can't do that. That's just hypocritical. 888 Mad Dog 6 is 888-623-3646. Henry in Atlanta, you're live with Stephen A. Henry, how are you?
Hey, Stephen, it's another one of them Dallas Cowboy fans.
No.
But I really, hold on. I really like Brady. I really think Brady have a great chance of going back to the Super Bowl and probably even winning it. But do you think, I got 2 points to this, do you think he's going to have something busy to do when he do win the Super Bowl this year or next year? Or he going to have to go out and get some milk or eggs or anything this year? I guarantee you he'll be at that darn White House shaking hands and being with Trump this year than he wouldn't last year.
Well, you got to remember, he didn't show up for Obama. I think he did show up once for Bush. So that's his politics, man. He has that right. And not only that, Trump is his friend. So he certainly has that right.
What about the Hawks? What do you think about the Hawks for the East?
For what? The Hawks for what?
What do you think about the Hawks? I don't think they can beat Cleveland, but do you think they'll be able to play Cleveland in the East?
Who are you talking about, bro? The Atlanta Hawks?
The Atlanta Hawks.
Well, who the hell, hold on. Who the hell do you think you are? Calling up here saying the Hawks, like we know who the Hawks you talking about. Who the hell think about the Atlanta Hawks? I thought you were talking about the Seahawks. You got to be clear. The Atlanta Hawks don't have that kind of cachet for you to just be saying, what do you think about the Hawks? You better be clear. The Atlanta Hawks going to be a good team. The Atlanta Hawks are going to be a decent team, but they ain't going no damn place. They ain't going no damn place. Okay?
So you don't think they can play Cleveland in the East?
All right? No. Not at all. I mean, it's a possibility, but look. You got a few teams. Toronto and Boston are not teams to be ignored. They just aren't. So I would tell you that. Okay?
Okay.
Appreciate the call, man. Anything else?
No, that's good.
Thanks a lot, bro. Appreciate you. Ronald in Long Island, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Ron?
My brother, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for calling. What's up?
Hey, look, I'm sitting here watching the Cleveland Cavaliers have some fun at the White House with the president at this point. Stephen A., I tell you, young brother, we have a climate right now that is unlike anything we've ever seen before. And I just want to say, and indulge me, I agree with you and Woody and, the way Hillary came out and the president came out yesterday and then today meeting with the president-elect. At some point, we've got to move on. But, the analogy that I thought about earlier today was that as much as we have no choice but to move on, Stephen, it's almost like a spouse who pretty much has cheated on or either abused their other spouse, and then they're forgiven. And what happens in those cases are, you know what, we forgive, but Stephen, we can't forget. And the one thing I want to say is this, because I've heard this over the last 48 hours, and this is what disheartens me the most. Hey, man, when you have your children, your little girls, your little boys, your nieces, your nephews, going to school crying, coming home crying, telling you stories when they come home from school of kids of other cultures crying, petrified of the unknown and what's going to happen with their families. I'm going to say this to all Americans. I don't care who you voted for. Grab these kids up, make them feel empowered, let them know, encourage them that everything is going to be all right. Tell them to continue to strive in school and go be the best they can be. And that will change, ultimately, baby steps, but it'll change the culture and the temperature in this country at some point.
We also have to accept responsibility of why kids are scared. Because a lot of times they're being taught and indoctrinated, and we can understand that because to some degree that's a parent's job to educate them or whatever. But sometimes you might be telling kids things a little bit too early. You might be telling kids things a little bit too soon. Like you might be exposing kids to stuff that they don't need to be exposed to. Like if you could see the tenor, of the campaign and beyond, right? Why would you want a kid to be exposed to that? You know, there are things on television you wouldn't have them looking at. There are things you would take them movies and things of that nature. They don't need, you 7, 6 years old or whatever the case may be. What are you doing knowing about all the intricacies of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton? Why?
I thought about that too, Stephen. I'm going to tell you, out of all the political campaigns that I've observed over my years, in the midst of them going on like they've gone on in the past, it is just so strange how media changed so much that no matter what TV you limited these kids to up today, and again, we also have to understand, the internet and things of that nature, the ability of these kids to be exposed to this stuff and the way the media pretty much took Mr. Trump as a ratings bonanza, you couldn't help. The kids couldn't help.
Well, I'll tell you this much. The real thing that we need to say here is that the media let a lot of people down because they first of all, initially they didn't take sides. They were about the ratings. And then after that, they did take sides, and there's no denying that. And so as a result of that, you painted a picture, not considering who would see that picture.
That's right.
And that's what makes it bad. I got to run, Ron. I appreciate the call, my brother. Thank you so much. Let's go to Lenny in North Carolina. You're live with Stephen A. Mad. What's up, Lenny?
Hey, what's going on? It's your man.
Go ahead, bro.
Hey,
how you doing? Good to hear from you.
Stephen A. I'd say again.
I said, good to hear from you, bro. Thanks for calling.
Oh, I love you, brother. Hey, you know what? But I was listening to a lot of things that have been going on, and, I had a bunch of things I wanted to disagree with you about, but I really don't have the time to do that. So I want to get into something real quick, and I know Jonathan is probably cussing me out right now, but the game tonight, are you serious? Didn't they have a thing where the game would be switched and you can get a better game or something like that they had a deal with NBC and CBS? I don't know. Are you the Ravens tonight? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, just they got games. It's a flex schedule for the Sunday games, not the Thursday games, man.
Oh man! But don't get me wrong. Now the Browns they're very competitive. But they're just not there yet. They need that quarterback, but they are very competitive. So I'm interested in watching that. But yeah, it's the Browns and the Ravens. Come on.
I feel it. Say enough said. Got to roll, bro. I appreciate the call, man. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. More of your phone calls right here with Stephen A. on Mad Dog.
Mad Dog Sports Radio. Sports Fight.
All the attention on the Cowboys with Tony Romo back practicing and Cowboys Executive VP Stephen Jones, a guest on Shine On Sports this morning. He said no decision yet on whether Romo would be active for this week's game, but asked if switching from Dak to Romo would upset the team's rhythm.
Well, I think anytime you're winning a lot of games like we are right now, you certainly don't want to do much to, upset the apple cart. At the same time, this is a big part of this football team. Knows Tony's been around Tony and understand and won a lot of football games with Tony when he's healthy. So, I don't really worry about that. At the same time, you're very cognizant of it.
Now, Prescott's still taking reps with the first team in practice, and Jones confirmed that if Romo was active this week, he would still be the backup for Sunday's game against the Steelers. Prescott, of course, has led the team to 7 straight wins. Thursday night football this evening, the Browns and Ravens in Baltimore. Cleveland 0-9, looking for their first W of the year with Cody Kessler.
And 4 more Kalbasa free. Get this limited time package for only $49.99 when you go to omahasteaks.com. Type in Stephen A. with a PH, not a V, in the search bar and add the family gift pack to your cart. Don't wait. Go to omahasteaks.com. Type STEPHENA in the search bar and give the gift of gourmet. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. Let's go to Keith in Atlanta. You're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. What's up, Keith?
Hey, what's going on, Stephen?
Talk to me.
Hey, my thing is about the whole Nick Saban issue is that I really don't think that, like you said, that he just wanted to be involved with political issues because of his position in Alabama. A lot of people don't know that Nick Saban is the highest paid person in Alabama. And so a lot of the times you have these big figures and they don't want to be directly involved with politics. And I don't technically think that's a wrong thing, but I do think that we have, because I'm a member of the military, but I feel like we have an obligation to speak out about political issues so that people are aware, because when you're in positions of power, you need to do things like that.
Well, first of all, that's debatable in some people's eyes. That's fair. But you can't make the statement, we're focused on other things here.
Right.
On election day when you are a leader of men, of young men on a collegiate level, they're still, they're growing into manhood, and you preside over 65 of them. You can't say that.
Right.
That's my issue.
I think that's kind of been very clear in this election. There's a lot of people who kind of feel that what I won't say what he said, because I don't think that he technically feels that way. But what he said, a lot of people do feel that way. They feel like, politics don't really affect me, or they're not really, individual to me at the lowest level.
Again, that's not my focus. My focus is you have 65 kids. You're heading a college program. You cannot have that attitude publicly. You can't do that. That's all I'm saying. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you. Let's go to Anthony in Indiana. You're live with Stephen A. Mad Dog. What's up, Anthony?
How you doing, Stephen A? I've been listening to you a long time. I just want to start out by saying you're an awesome person for being the straight-up man that you are, and as a member who served in our military, listening to the words that you said yesterday about Colin Kaepernick really moved me, especially with the stance that you took on him and defended him to the letter, and then he doesn't go out and vote, instituting change. That's just ridiculous, and I just love the words that you said about him.
Well, I meant them, so I'm glad you loved them, because I certainly ain't taking them back. Thank you so much for your call. Let's go to Earl in North Carolina at 888 Mad Dog 6. That's 888-623-3646. Thanks for your call. What's going on, Earl?
Hey, how you doing, Stephen A?
Talk to me.
All right. I was looking at your program, First Take. I didn't get a chance to see it. I usually see it at 10 o'clock in the morning, but it comes back on at 1 o'clock, so I was looking at your program, and you were talking about Dallas Cowboys and Zach Prescott.
Yep.
Now, I've been watching sports since the 60s, and the Dallas Cowboys have never been my favorite team. But the way I look at Zach Prescott is this. Being a black man, we have to take opportunities. When opportunities present themselves, we must be in position to take the opportunity, to take that opportunity. And I believe this is what Zach Prescott is doing, because how many third-string quarterbacks, black guys, have an opportunity to really become a starting quarterback? So Zach should be concerned about his future, because he's going to play somewhere. With Dallas, Cleveland, or wherever it is, he's going to play. Mm-hmm. So as long as he concentrates on doing what he needs to do, he's going to come out good for him.
Yeah, but I'm talking about we know that he's hold on. We know he's going to play somewhere. Probably ain't going nowhere. Cowboys ain't going to let him go. I'm just simply, the issue in question is whether or not he's going to be compromised this year by Jerry Jones, considering the way he's been playing and the way the team is winning. Nobody has any questions about him going to having to remain in the Cowboys uniform and how he's going to be the future of the Cowboys. We know he's not going anywhere.
Ain't got together. So I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen to him.
I got you. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Let's go to Valentino in Louisiana. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
How you doing? I know this is a sports station and not a political station, so I'm gonna use a sports analogy with a political question. Jordan had Pippen, Isaiah had Dumars, Magic had Kareem. Why the hell Hillary did not have Bernie Sanders as a VP?
Because he's 74 years old. And the likelihood is that even though he was very, very popular and she needed him miraculously, a 74-year-old socialist to attract a young generation of folks, the reality of the situation is that he was interested in being president. Who wants to be the vice president where you're basically not doing much? You want to be in a position where, you know, you can have an opportunity to one day run for president yourself, or you don't care because you don't have any political aspirations. It's usually one of the two.
I agree with you. But he had a movement, though. He had a real movement.
Yeah, but at the same time, again, it's vice president. You know, that may not have been something he wanted.
Yeah. I understand. Right? I really do. I do. All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot, man. Let's go to Nick in Memphis. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Nick.
How you doing today?
I'm good. Talk to me.
Hey, I'm a big-time Steelers fan, and I got to say this. I think that this weekend is the weekend that Jerry Jones starts hearing those voices, and this is when it starts to unravel for the Cowboys. And the number 2 point, Stephen A., it's au gratin potatoes, buddy. Au gratin.
Au gratin? Yeah, I don't. Man, I'm doing the read. I'm like, what the hell is this? Never heard of this. I didn't know. So you got me.
Au gratin.
Au gratin. I remember now. Thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate the education. Let's go to Savronia in Wisconsin. You're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. What's up, Savronia? How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Thank you, Stephen A., for taking my call. I'm a big fan of yours.
Thank you so much for calling. What's going on?
So this is what I'm going through. I'm over here paying for private school for my for private tuition for my 2 kids, and I'm over here telling them that they need to be prepared and they need to go to college. And I guess what I'm just most disappointed about with this presidential election is that the qualifications to be president of the United States of America, our commander-in-chief, is that you have to be 35 years old, a citizen of the United States, and have lived in the U.S. for 14 years.
Yeah, the qualifications definitely need to be stiffer. Go ahead.
Most definitely, because I have a master's degree, and every job that I've applied for had more requirements, required more experience than anything. And I think that it is contradicting to what I'm teaching my children at home. I'm not telling them to be afraid of what's going to happen tomorrow, because my kids were those kids.
Well, you know what they're going to say, right?
Go to school.
You know what they're going to say, right? Your kid is out there looking for a career to make a success and make money for himself. It shouldn't be more difficult to serve your country. That's what they're going to say. Because the presidency, you're running for office. Your objective is supposed to be, serving your nation. That's what they're going to say.
Yeah, but you still need to know how to move around in the political arena.
Hey,
I'm a salesperson. I've been a salesperson for 25 years. I don't think too many people can outsell me, but I am not qualified to be the commander-in-chief.
I agree. I'm not disputing you. I'm just telling you what they're going to try to say. You and I both know what they're going to try to say. That's going to be their justification for it. That's the whole problem.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Savronia. Appreciate the call. But you're right. You ain't wrong. Isaac in Alabama, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Isaac.
Hey, Stephen A. How you doing today?
I'm good. Talk to me, bro. Real quick. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A. Yes, sir. I called to talk about, everyone is talking about Donald Trump, Kyle Kaepernick, Nick Saban, but where's our trust in God? No one saying that we are putting our trust in God. We worrying about a man.
Plenty of religious folks Episcopalians, Catholics, and others have said the same thing. It's a given that that's how it should be. It's also a given that most folks don't pay attention to it, no matter how wrong they are, no matter how much they should be doing exactly what you said. You and I both know that.
Yes, one more question, Mr. Smith.
Hurry up, real quick. We gotta go.
What do you think about my Auburn Tigers?
Not much. I don't think much about anybody in the SEC other than Alabama right now. Texas A&M was ranked 4th, and the next thing you know, they out of the mix. So Tennessee was ranked, 9th, and they get shellacked by Alabama. I don't think much about anybody in the SEC other than Alabama, personally. Excuse me, that's where I'm at with it. But I got to get on out of here. Be back with y'all in 22 hours. Mad Dog Russo's up next with his afternoon drive show. This is Stephen A. Smith signing off until 22 hours from now. I can't wait to get into some football. I'm done talking to politics.
Sirius